Hello there. Welcome to my channel, Mo Moon. My name is Mo. Welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about another goddess or god in my Deities series. I'm going to be talking about Santa Muerte, and I have a statue of her here. So this is Santa Muerte, and she is one of my goddesses. And I have written a few notes. I'm quite familiar with Santa Muerte and the information about her, but I did write notes just to keep myself on track. So Santa Muerte is also known as Holy Death, Santissima Muerte, the Bony Lady, the Skeleton Saint, Niña Blanca, and I'm sure there are other names for her as well. So she is born in Mexico, and she is thought to be the ancient Aztec god of the dead, Mictlantecutli, and Mictlan is the underworld, the land of the dead. So she is thought to originate with Mictlantecutli, the Aztec god of the dead, who was usually portrayed with a skull face. She is a female deity, seen as a folk saint by some Catholics. However, not by the Catholic Church itself. Santa Muerte is seen as a goddess of the marginalized, of people who are outcast, criminals, prostitutes, as well as other marginalized groups, LGBTQ, transgender, so on and so forth, people who have lost their jobs, who are desperate. Santa Muerte comes to help all people. She does not discriminate. As you know, death does not discriminate, so she is willing to help anyone who comes to her for help. Santa Muerte is a goddess who is patient, caring, kind, and generous, unless you cross her, of course. But Santa Muerte can be petitioned for protection, love, money, revenge, healing, and a favorable death. Now, the Santa Muerte statue I have has many colors, but each color represents a different aspect of her. So if you got the black dressed Santa Muerte, she would be for protection. If you got the red Santa Muerte, she would be for love. If you got the green Santa Muerte, she would be for money and business. But my Santa Muerte has all the colors because white is for purity. So this Santa Muerte that I have, she's holding the scales, and she has an hourglass and an owl for wisdom. And of course she has the Sith, the symbol of death. So Santa Muerte is a personification of death. And for those that honor her, she frees them from the fear of death so that they can truly live life. Santa Muerte is deeply honored and respected by her believers and followers. Santa Muerte reminds us that death comes for everybody. Santa Muerte is celebrated on Dia de los Muertos with food, dance, song, wine, alcohol, candy, costumes, and prayer. And she brings everybody together on that day. Santa Muerte is honored not only in South America, but in Los Angeles and other parts of the United States, and hopefully here in Canada as well. So I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about Santa Muerte if I didn't talk about a couple of her devotees who have definitely spread the news of Santa Muerte around the world. So Doña Queta has honored Santa Muerte for a long time. She is a Santa Muerte devotional pioneer. In 2001, Doña Queta received a Santa Muerte statue, and she put it out on her front lawn because she felt that it belonged there. And it was probably one of the first times that Santa Muerte was seen in public, and Doña Queta gave the people that saw that the strength to be able to publicly declare their devotion for Santa Muerte as well. And there's also Vargas, who is a Santa Muerte pioneer as well. Vargas goes to prisons and prays with the prisoners in the name of Santa Muerte. She helps them and encourages them in the name of Santa Muerte. She also built a temple to Santa Muerte in Tultitlan, where the largest 75-foot statue of Santa Muerte is erected. Vargas believes in Santa Muerte because in 2008, her son was murdered and he was shot with 150 bullets. And Vargas asked Santa Muerte for revenge. And she soon found out that the person that was responsible for her son's death was killed. And so she told Santa Muerte that if she would revenge the death of her son, that she would follow her for life. And so when her son's death was avenged, she decided to honor Santa Muerte with her life. So there is a really good documentary by Reza Aslan. I will leave the link in the description box down below if you want to learn more about Santa Muerte and go deeper into depth about Santa Muerte. It is a CNN video and it's called Believer. And like I said, I'll leave the link in the description box. But let me just talk a little bit about my experience with Santa Muerte. So I had been looking at pictures of Santa Muerte on Instagram for at least a year before I bought her statue. And I just felt like a very warm call from her, a very approachable call. I felt like she was encouraging me to look at statues of her online in order to purchase one. And I felt honored to be able to buy a statue of Santa Muerte because I always thought that she wasn't going to call me. I always thought that she wasn't meant for me. And I see Santa Muerte as a caring mother. One of the things that I saw in Reza Aslan's video called Believer about Santa Muerte was that there were transgender prostitutes who invited Reza Aslan over to talk about Santa Muerte and their devotion to Santa Muerte. And one of the women was talking about how if Santa Muerte doesn't answer their prayers, they punish her. And they turn her upside down. One of the ladies who was in the group of transgender prostitute women said that one of her friends turned her Santa Muerte statue upside down in the toilet until Santa Muerte gave her a job. And I didn't think much of it, but I came to a point in my life just a little while back where I was burnt out from my job and I wanted to quit my job, but there was an extensive form to fill out, which I would have had to print out at the library. And in the mental state that I was in, I didn't have the energy to do that. So thankfully, the girl who makes the schedules kept putting me on the schedule, but she put me as an unauthorized absence. And I tried to work at another job, which was less stressful than the hospital, but I couldn't do that either, because I was just too tired and stressed out. So I stopped working there and I kept looking, I kept thinking about other places that I might be able to work other than the hospital, because I had in my mind quit the hospital even though I hadn't officially filled out the papers to do so. And I was getting really strapped for cash and starting to go into a little bit of debt because of it. It was 2 months that I didn't work and I really needed a job. So what came to mind was to turn Santa Muerte's statue upside down in the toilet at my parents' house. And I had petitioned my gods and goddesses to help me get another job, but I hadn't received one. So that's the last resort that I thought of. So I did actually turn this Santa Muerte statue upside down in the toilet. And right now, talking about it, it really feels devastating that I had to do that, because to me it was, and at the time it didn't feel disrespectful, but it does feel disrespectful to turn a goddess statue upside down in the toilet. Not only was it the toilet, but there was pee and toilet paper in it when I did it. And I was just at the end of my rope and I didn't know what to do. So Santa Muerte wasn't helping me and I was asking her to help me. and she wasn't helping me. So I thought about that story that the transgender prostitutes were talking about, where they punished Santa Muerte for not answering them. So I turned her upside down in the toilet, and less than an hour later, I had the idea to get back in touch with the people who scheduled me at the hospital and ask them if I could come back to work. And it wasn't just about going back to work at the hospital, it was about the mentality about working at the hospital. That Santa Muerte gave me my job back at the hospital, and so Santa Muerte believes that I deserve to be there, and that Santa Muerte believes that I can handle it. And whenever I feel stressed out about being at the hospital working, I remember Santa Muerte and I say, thank you, Santa Muerte, for giving me my job back at the hospital. And I know that I'm meant to be here because you told me to be here. You told me that this was the solution. And if you told me that this is the solution, then I can do it. So Santa Muerte, I took the statue of Santa Muerte out of the toilet and I washed her and I put her back on my altar. And I've honored her ever since. And it's only been about a year since that. But I'm very grateful for Santa Muerte and for her help. And it might sound like a simple thing to take your job back at the hospital, but I never even thought about that because I really thought that I was done there. But Santa Muerte gave me the idea to go back. So I'm really grateful for her and for her telling me that. So that's my story about Santa Muerte. She is indeed a very wonderful mother. She likes when you talk to her. She likes when you pray to her, and she is very personable. Like I said, she is a goddess of the outcast, of the marginalized, of people who feel like they don't deserve, to be loved or to be supported. She supports them. And even though she's seen as a saint by some folk Catholics, she isn't actually recognized as a saint by the Catholic Church in Mexico. She's recognized as more like a demon who is against the Catholic Church. But a lot of the practicing folk Catholics see her as a saint, and some see her as a goddess as well. And I see her as a goddess. So thank you for being here, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.